good of you to be here. Good to see you all.
Before COVID, we've always been a really close-knit community. Basically, everyone in the ensemble was always close outside of music school as well. I mean, we had all of our classes together. A lot of us were in the same voice studios. So we really missed that social aspect that we had before COVID. Like, we would always plan to go to dinner before and after. We would take our pre and post concert.
Last half of last year, and then of course this fall semester has been really interesting. We were making music online, and we were using a lot of equipment such as like Soundtrap, and I'm sure Dr. Linforce was using GarageBand to edit clips together of all of us singing and trying to make it sound as uniform as possible. It definitely was an interesting experience and very valuable just in the future for technology.
Being in choir is something we all just coveted and we all really wanted to do, and I feel we got a lot out of being in the ensembles. Like, we got a lot of camaraderie, and we got to do a lot with the music, and I felt like we just really went into it and perfecting our sound as an ensemble.
Excited to get that experience. It had been, a real long-term goal of mine through the 4 years here. So I was in it for about 2 weeks in person, just about block 3 of junior year. I got brought up because they needed more singers for an upcoming concert, and then I was invited to stay in the ensemble, which was a dream come true. But then about a week later, we went home for spring break, and I think everyone knows the rest.
So the overall strategy is based on making sure that the student experience is good.
In high school, going to choir and chorus was my favorite part of the day, and I was so excited to come to college and be able to sing with my friends every single day. I so looked forward to the choral experience, and having that taken away for such a long time definitely hurt the morale of the ensemble.
When we got moved online last year, the biggest thing, we were all like, how the hell are ensembles supposed to work? And they didn't really work for the majority of last year. They basically were just we would log on and we would check in and see how we were doing, and then we would do a lot of recording. But we all were just sort of this, we're never going to be able to do what we used to be doing like this online.
Obviously in the past, choir usually does something. Actually, I think this year was supposed to be the year that we were going to go to Lincoln Center with the full orchestra. That obviously can't happen this year due to the pandemic. So that was something that I was really looking forward to, that I think has truly been impacted. We don't get to have that experience.
So while everybody else is in person, I decided to be a remote student this semester, just because I live off campus, but I just wanted to keep myself a little bit extra safe, and singing is very scary in person. It's definitely been weird, I will say. Singing online is not the most ideal thing, but this semester I feel like it's definitely worked out a lot better than at least the previous semester. So this semester, we met with Dr. Linforce, who is our conductor, and he basically gave us guidelines of what being a remote student would look like, which was super helpful. So he laid out 2 individual projects that we would be doing, and then we were to decide upon a group project together.
This semester, yeah, we have some in person and some remote, and I would say that this is not good. It's untenable. It's not a great balance, because most of my focus is on the in-person
Truthfully, there were, like, it was a little difficult in the beginning because we just didn't meet him with him as much as like in-person choir did, so it was super difficult trying to communicate that. I was recording a lot of videos and a lot of tracks, and it was definitely a lot more difficult because when you're singing in a choir, you hear the people around you, but when you're singing by yourself, you don't get the same thing, and it is definitely a lot more difficult to record pieces that way. And I know I struggled a lot because I'm always looking at the conductor.
This is a traditional singer's mask. We refer to ourselves as the duck bill choir when we put it on, and you will see why in a minute. But basically the purpose of this mask is on top of the extra filtration. It has a band that keeps the mask from coming into your mouth. So when you are singing and forming text, you don't get the fabric in your mouth. It also has a very tight bridge for your nose, so there is no air coming out anywhere. And this is required for our performances. And I've had to mold it. It's a very thick piece of wire, so I've molded it to shape my own face. And it just goes on like this to sculpt mine to fit my face. We do call it the duckbill choir because it goes very far out, but when I'm speaking or singing, there's no air coming out of any of these spots, and nothing is touching my mouth.
The singers' masks are definitely interesting looking. It's unfortunate that they actually do make singing easier because they're definitely not the most glamorous thing, but I definitely understand why they exist. I don't know, it's sort of weird just to see, like, you can't really see anyone's face, and like when you're performing, like it's something you want to use your face to emote, and there's just big black masks on everyone, and it's sort of like depersonalizing, but it's a lot easier to sing in, and I think that if people do have the big like singer's masks, it does sound better, but I realize like not everyone wants to look like they're like in the Black Plague.
Being masked, especially in our concerts, to remain safe, I definitely feel that it's a lot harder to show emotion within the performance.
Most of the audience is distant, and so it doesn't really affect how I am shaping a concert, but it affects how we perceive the performance.
There isn't going to be like a live audience. Like the only people that can be there are like other people that are like in the other ensemble, and like even then they have to like sign up and then like show up, and it's like usually there's like not a lot of people.
We've been able to have some in-person audiences, but it's just the other singers.
I'm really excited. I'm definitely excited to get back into things. I'm definitely really nervous because it's just a huge jump from going online from a year and a half to going straight back into person.
Mary Tian.
And I'm so grateful that the School of Music was able to figure out a way for us to sing together. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I didn't have it.
Get creative with like the technology aspect, and I know like we've had a couple of rehearsals outside when the weather was permitting, which was nice. It is kind of weird that like everyone thinks that the class of 2020 is like the ones who like got the short end of the stick because literally everything that they were planning to do for the end of the year got canceled, whereas everything that we were planning to do for the end of the year is just being adapted. So I feel like it's definitely weird, but I feel like if this year has taught us anything, it's that like we can adapt. It just takes a while, because like we are able to have like an in-person graduation, and we are able to have like in-person concerts and in-person things like that. They just have to be adapted. So I think if this year shows us anything, it's that like just because we're in a pandemic doesn't mean like everything has to just stop. Like it can just be adapted, which I think is really cool.
Thank you all. Have a nice night.